Hey, I've been wondering why grief feels so isolating here in the United States. I wonder what we could learn from cultures where mourning is shared collectively instead of carried alone. In this really fun episode, we get to explore the powerful differences between North American grief culture and communal mourning traditions in Malawi, Africa. In their culture, they use stories, movement practice, ritual, music, and conversation to work through their grief. They do it together. We
Mhm.
explore how that collective grieving in villages or in a whole village fosters resilience, healing, spiritual connection, and a sense of belonging after loss.
That's right. What a lovely time with great storyteller Masankho Banda.
Mm.
We are going to be talking about the Malawi funeral traditions and communal mourning, why many people in the United States grieve in isolation, healing grief through movement, storytelling, and music, how we can honor our ancestors in the collective remembrance, and there are practical ways to support grief in your own community. This
Mhm.
conversation is for anyone navigating grief, supporting others through their loss, working in death positive spaces, or just searching for more humane ways to mourn and heal together.
Yeah. So,
Join us.
stay tuned. Welcome to this episode. Today, we are very blessed to be able to meet and talk with Masankho Banda. Masankho learned the fine art of storytelling and dance from his elders in Malawi. In their company, he spent many long days and nights listening to stories and dancing to music that captivated his mind, nourished his soul, and strengthened his spirit.
Hmm.
Masankho earned a degree in theater and dance from the College of Worcester in Ohio, and his master's degree in culture and theology from Holy Names University in Oakland, not far from where we went to seminary.
That's right. After graduating, Masankho chose to devote his life to using dance, storytelling, music, and drumming to inspire people of all ages to work together to bring about peace, social justice, and cultural understanding. Masankho shares his stories, sermons, and music with many audiences around the world. For his work all over the United States and the world, he was awarded the Unsung Hero of Compassion commendation by His Holiness the Dalai Lama in May of 2001.
Beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
So happy to have you.
Yeah.
So wonderful to be here. Thank you, Ana Luisa and Wakil. Am I
Yeah.
pronouncing your name right, Ana Luisa?
Yeah. How are we
Yes.
doing with yours?
You're
Masankho is
doing
good?
fine, Masankho.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, great. Well,
Yes.
we like, I think that everybody's lives and your work probably as well is related to death and dying. So we like to just know just kind of start with how has death affected the work you do, or how's death ha- co- conti- contributed to the way your life has unfolded.
Wow, that's a very interesting question
Yeah.
because I can say that throughout life, I mean, one of the things when people ask me how it is different living in the United States and living in Malawi,
Yeah.
one of the examples that I give is that of how funerals are approached in the two countries.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in the United States for 30 years. And I think in the entire 30 years, I attended 5 funerals.
Mm.
Whereas in Malawi, that would not be possible. In Malawi, you attend a funeral because somebody in your community has passed away, regardless of whether you know them or met them. So we attend funerals by neighborhood, or by village or by church. And to such an extent that when we went through the AIDS pandemic and crisis in the 90s, kind of late 80s, early 90s, and most recently when we went through COVID, as families, we had to say, okay, there's 5 of us in the family. Anytime we hear, we get a phone call that somebody has passed on, we will take turns going to the funeral. Because if we go to each funeral, then none of us are going to work or none of us are going to get anything done. So we would have schedules. Okay, today, Masankho, it's your turn. And then the next day or the day after that, because, people were dying, during AIDS and then during COVID at that rapidity, we had to say, okay, one day and then 2 days later. So
wow.
I can say that on a kind of like a everyday basis, those are the differences in the two arenas. Personally, I would say April 10th, 2010, when my father passed away, that was my first time when I felt like my feet had been taken from under me. Luckily, I was 30, in my late 30s. So I was a grown up. But there was a sense of, oh, my foundation has shifted. And in actual fact, I have now become the foundation.
Wow.
So there was a real, there was a real body feeling that, oh, I am now the foundation. I am now the elder. And began to approach life from that perspective of being an elder. So as an adult, that was definitely something very significant. And what it did is it put my work in the perspective of, I used to get my wisdom from my father and pass it on. And now I'm getting my wisdom from him as ancestor. And combining it with the years of wisdom that he had given me. And that then infused my work.
Beautiful.
But I do want to say really quickly, when I was 9 years old, that was my first instance of having somebody walk out of our house in Blantyre in southern Malawi, where I grew up. And 2 weeks later, they came back in a coffin. So that was my first experience of somebody walking out of our house, coming back 2 weeks later in a coffin. And my grandmother my father gathering all us kids and letting us know that our grandfather was no longer going to be with us. Because we were children, we didn't go to the graveyard or to the church service. But what they did was, before they carried him out to the hearse, they put the coffin on the veranda. My dad stood on one side, my uncle, his younger brother, stood on the other side. And one by one, they lifted us up and passed us over the coffin. And I distinctively remember that my uncle let go of me seconds before my father grabbed me. But I had no sensation of falling. So in other words, between my uncle letting go and my father grabbing me, there was a period of time when none of them were touching me, and yet I didn't fall. It was explained to us later that because this was our first significant passing, it was a way of ensuring that his spirit would continue in us children, grandchildren who were left behind.
Wow, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that is so
Yeah.
very interesting. How culturally we care for the spirits of our children
Yes.
instead of shielding them from the possibility of unknowns, and that's a blessing. It's like
Exactly.
that's so that's
Right.
wonderful.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
So I really appreciate this story on so many cultural, personal, world stories. Would you mind telling me what you're currently working on?
How many different things?
Right. You know, I being in the what I call the gig economy, I've been in a constant state of, okay, what's next? So I've just finished what I call my January, February, or my winter swing, which is mostly West Coast, California and Seattle, where I met Wakil. And now I'm going back to Malawi, which is where I also have a home, Malawi being my home country. So I'm going back to Malawi, and when I'm in Malawi, I am a consultant. So, in other words, I engage more of my left brain, but with still a lot of the creative right brain infused. So, I work with organizations like the United Nations, Red Cross, GIZ, all of the agencies that provide various aspects of education, health, assistance to Malawi. And I work with them on aspects of team building, leadership development, capacity building, and not community service, but service delivery, proper service delivery to their clients. So that's what I'll be doing the last week of March. The first 2 weeks of April, I'm working on a project. This is now my 4th year, where we are working with young agripreneurs, which is the new term, not entrepreneurs, but agripreneurs.
Yes.
And these are young people from Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, Eswatini, Tanzania, Malawi, Madagascar, Lesotho, who are saying we can't get traditional jobs because unemployment is very high. But if I have 2 acres of land or 5 hectares, I can grow something, or I can rear pigs or sheep or goats and make a living. And so to bridge the gap between the knowledge they have as farmers, but lacking the skills of presentation, proposal writing, economics. So I'm working with a colleague from Germany, an organization called Andreas Herms Academy, which is working together with the Southern African Confederation of Agricultural Unions to train young people in how they can work the land and be profitable and be able to say, this is my living. This is how I'm going to make a living. So I'll be doing that the 2nd week of April. And then I come back to the United States. And when I come back to the United States, I've got a whole series of things lined up I've got a week-long InterPlay retreat for Black Indigenous people of color that's happening in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. I've
All right,
got...
wait a second. Wait,
Yes.
let's just, I want to stop you right there because
Yes.
this is what I'm very interested in.
Yes.
I'm interested in the interplay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is how you and Wakil have met. But could you tell us a little bit more specifically what you just said? It's like POC, interplay. Like, explain to our listeners what is interplay and how is it beneficial?
Yeah, and real quickly before you do that, my daughter and son-in-law live in that part of Pennsylvania. I think just north of Philadelphia. Is it north of
Pittsburgh? North of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
maybe a little further away.
Yeah.
But they are young agripreneurs.
They are.
Unfortunately, though, they're not people of color.
All right. So
anyway, go ahead, please answer.
So interplay is an active, creative practice for unlocking the wisdom of the body. It was started by Phil Porter and Cynthia Winton Henry about 32 years ago in Oakland, California. And essentially all of that, active creative practice for unlocking the wisdom of the body using dance, music, and storytelling. The central premise is that all of us at some level can find access to our songs, can find access to our music, and can access our stories. What's missing is how do we manifest or how do we give an outward expression to the songs, dances, and stories that we walk around with. And so interplay helps people, facilitates people's connection to their stories, to their songs, to their dances in community. So we have interplay communities all over the United States, all in parts of Europe. It's now blooming in East and Central Africa. I'm bringing it to Malawi. It's also in India, in Thailand, in Australia, and in New Zealand. Thailand. Yeah, I mentioned Thailand. Yes. So communities get together and they have, whether it's a day-long interplay event, some of them just meet for 2 hours, and then occasionally we will have what's called an intensive as opposed to intensive. And intensive is more like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. But they'll have an intensive that can be around a theme, or it can be around a collection of people who are, say, teachers or chaplains or pastors or just people in the ordinary, different careers in life who want to find a place where they can get together with other folk to sing, to dance, to share stories. Within the program or within the practice, we have what's called a life practice program that allows people to go more depth into the material, to learn the tools of interplay, but also the forms of interplay. So the life practice program is about a year-long program which has the secrets of interplay at the beginning and the secrets at the end, and then they do various workshops in the middle. And if you do the life practice program, then you can infuse interplay into your work. When you graduate from the life practice program, you go into the secret of leading, or the certified, to become a certified interplay leader. And when you become a certified interplay leader, then you can actually hang a shingle that says, I'm an interplay leader. You can come to me and I will teach you interplay, which is what I am. I've been a certified interplay leader now for about 25 years.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll just give witness that he's a great leader. We had a really good time together
Oh,
when he was
thank
here in
you.
Seattle. I really appreciated that.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Yes,
very
yes,
interesting, very
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Something popped into my head, and I'll see if it comes back. But
Okay.
I don't know, Luisa, was there anything else?
Well, I remember we had a guest who was an InterPlay leader.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we talked about how it supports the grief process, and I'm just like, can you speak to that? How
Sure,
is it?
sure,
That
sure.
is very interesting to me.
Yes, yes. Um, we have one of our colleagues, Dr. Sheila Collins. Now, Dr. Sheila Collins lost 2 children during the AIDS pandemic.
Mm.
And out of that grief, she has written, I believe, 2 books. The Art of Grieving was the first one. And even as I'm saying that, I'm forgetting now the title of the second one. But in the Art of Grieving, what she has done through her process is to bring an artistic approach to grieving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When somebody is grieving, whether it's an individual or whether it's a family, more often than not, there's kind of a 2-phase. There's the immediate aftermath. Something has happened, you've lost a loved one, and you kind of go into what I call automatic mode. We need to, arrange the funeral, the memorial service, and all of that, and the person's, inform family and acquaintances. Once that is over, there's now this empty time. People are no longer calling. You're not busy with the post-death rituals. How do you then find a way to deal with this, what I call deeper grief, that is not surrounded by activity? InterPlay gives us tools where you can find a way to be with the stories that come out. Tools of how you can share the stories in a way that doesn't bring you down, but in a way that, I won't say builds you up, but in a way that brings in the healing process. So when you get together with a group of people, there's songs that you can share, there's stories that you can share. And we have this thing called dancing on behalf of, which is one of the forms that has been created by InterPlay. And dancing on behalf of can be dancing on behalf of a colleague that has lost a job, dancing on behalf of somebody who is not feeling well. But it can also be dancing on behalf of a person that has recently gone through a bereavement, which then also works in terms of dancing on behalf of the soul of the person who has become an ancestor, but also dancing on behalf of those who have been left behind so that their burden can be in a way lightened. So that's what I have found, where people really are able to lean into the tools of InterPlay, like the tool of affirmation that says you don't have to explain how you're feeling, but just know that whatever it is you're feeling is valid, even if you can't give it words.
Right.
We
Which
have
happens a lot to people, right?
exactly. We have a tool. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there for this, because
Yes.
we are hoping to help folks who are in the grief process.
Yes.
People who have passed. And I realized recently that there are times when others can't bear our grief.
Mm.
Others
Mhm.
can't bear our story.
Exactly.
And sometimes we can't bear our own story,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And we
Right.
like shuffle it deep, deep, deep inside us. So I am like very curious about InterPlay as a place where people who are struggling, articulating grief with language, which sometimes is so limited,
Yes. Yes.
to find an InterPlay group, in their communities and see if this is a good medicine for moving through their personal grief or responding to the grief of a loved one, right? Like,
Exactly.
because I feel like, now we're learning more about somatic therapies and
Mhm.
understanding that our bodies have more information for us that we're neglecting
Exactly.
because we don't have the language, we don't have the skills or the mentors to show us. I will say, when my sister died, I had a spiritual director, and out of nowhere, I commented that I've been having toe pain since my sister had died, and she stopped and she said, "Have you told your body your sister's dead?" And I was like,
Hello.
no, because she said, "You have articulated what happened in your mind, and your heart understands it because it's broken, but your body that is functioning and, doing the work has not been told that something has changed in our plane." And she's
Exactly.
like, "Spend some time talking to your body." So I'm really delighted by what I hear InterPlay can do for all of
Exactly.
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
in terms of creating more language that's not like spoken language.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Yes.
get times together in InterPlay to dance,
Right.
to move, to share with movement, or to combine movement and song, to make up
Exactly.
songs, to make up stories.
Yes.
It's all just very improvisational and beautiful in that way that
Yeah.
you really do. You have all these different, and as he was saying, there's all these different tools that they
Right. Right.
offer. Yeah.
Yes. For example, I mentioned the COVID pandemic. Unfortunately, one of the victims of the COVID pandemic was my mother. My mother passed away on the 26th of August, 2020. 4 weeks later, I was in the United States on my what I call my fall swing. So I went to the leader gathering, and then I went to a few other. And what I found was that it wasn't necessary. I mean, people knew because I had posted on Facebook and I had sent a message to the different forums. So people knew that my mother had passed from COVID. However, when I was together with interplayers, we would be sharing stories, and people would be sharing stories about their mother, either also deceased or alive. And I found this curious, what I call liminal space, where I could be with my grief, I could dance with my grief, but I could also be comforted by the stories of others. And it wasn't a competition. It wasn't like I'm grieving more than you're grieving. It was like we are all grieving.
Yeah, all the time.
And the other beautiful thing was we are all celebrating the beauty of motherhood.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in September and in October, while I was here, I got to have these spaces where we would sing and we would dance, and stories would come out that were very soothing to my spirit, and Anna Louise, very soothing to my body.
Yeah.
Helped my body, to understand that this person
Metabolites.
that had given me birth, that had, at whose breast I had, gotten my initial nurturing, and who had guided me through my teen years, was now no longer there in the physical form, but
Right.
was there in the ethereal spiritual form. And the reminder, that my grandmother, again, when my grandfather passed away, and my grandmother didn't say, "Oh, your grandfather's in the clouds." What she said to me was, "Masankho, from here on out, if you whisper your grandfather's name, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, he will hear you. And if you listen very closely, you will hear him too."
Yeah.
And I was
yeah.
9 years old when I got that. So here I am, many, many years later, going, no matter where I am, my mother hears me and I hear her as we interwove our stories together and our dances. So yeah, I mean, InterPlay is really a place where you can go and you will find a community that will help you hold the story that you have.
That's
Help
right.
you cry the tears
Yeah.
that you need to cry. Help you have the laughter that wants to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. To see, I was noticing that Sheila, we did actually interview Sheila on season
Dr.
4,
Sheila
episode.
We
Collins.
did.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Episode 2.
Yes, yes.
Episode 2 of season 4. So be sure everybody to check it out. But I think something that would be interesting. I didn't want to interrupt though. Ana Luisa, did you have something else?
I just have one more comment about this, and because I think I'm going to try to, InterPlay might be a really great place to offer people who are grieving, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a very, when people are just kind of stuck in their grief and don't know where to turn to, talk therapy. What I wrote down was our culture centers themselves in everyone's story.
Right.
When you say, my mother just died, my response is, well, my sister died too. Right. So because for some reason, nobody is allowed to have that story be the story that we just sit with.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So people, I notice a lot, and I notice in just all kinds of conversations, if I'm like, my plumbing just went bad. Oh, my plumbing went bad 10 years ago. And I'm like, okay, that's not really interesting to me. It's not very helpful.
Right.
I may not care right now, but
yes.
it is a very American technique to talk to each other. I've just started noticing that more and more.
Yes.
And so, and I'm so sorry, especially with white people. Like they always love to be like, "Oh, I've had that experience as well." And I'm like, "Have you?" But what I like about grief and InterPlay is that it doesn't center the story of one individual, but it centers the collective's grief.
Exactly.
It centers the collective's joy.
Exactly.
It centers the collective's lived experiences, rather than saying there's a hierarchy of a story.
Right.
Which I think is what happens. You go to therapy, it's a one-on-one talk therapy, and all we talk about is your personal grief, which is important and it matters. But in the grand scheme of this billion-year-old life, you're not that special.
Right.
Everybody has death.
Yes.
Everybody has pain. Everybody lives through a grief. That is absolutely true. And so I'm going to check out InterPlay.
Yes, please. And the other thing, just based on what you were saying a few minutes ago, one of the things that I have learned from InterPlay is that when somebody says to me, my brother just died, my father just died, my go-to next thing is to say, what do you need? Do you need to share with me a story? Do you need me just to sit with you? And that has come out of the InterPlay practice, where the big thing is listen more than you speak.
Right.
So important.
Listen more than you speak. Do you need me to do a dance on behalf of? Now, if within the confines, and I say confines, or within that experience, if it comes out that the person asks me and invites me to share from my perspective, then I can bring up, I just lost so and
That's right.
so, but that's
That's
not
right.
my go-to, you're right. That's not going to
Yeah.
be my go-to place because I
Yes.
realize that in that moment, that person doesn't need to hear who else has lost somebody.
No. And it's an acute grief moment
Yeah,
Yes,
that
yeah,
yes,
needs to be
yes.
tended in a very sweet and
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
swaddled way, right?
yeah,
I do
Exactly.
appreciate that because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
generally, the go-to is I'm really sorry for your loss, and I just, I bear witness to them, but I don't ask
Right.
them, I don't invite them to tell me more, which that's a really great practice, I think.
Yeah.
But I want to also say, like Joaquin and I have talked about this over the years, like the the really truly greatest gift you can give to somebody who is dying or who is grieving the loss of someone is to listen.
yeah, yeah,
Just
Right. Just
listen.
listen.
Just
yeah,
Yes.
slow
yeah.
down.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true
Oh,
with every
mhm.
loss, every kind of
Every
loss.
kind of loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
anyhow, Joaquin,
yeah.
tag team. I'm just like, wow.
No, I appreciate that because it really did give us a chance to learn more about that. And that's when I met him, that was Masankho. It was such an incredible time. We had 2 hours, I think almost 2 hours together. And they
That's
also do
right.
have retreats. Actually, the first time I did this InterPlay was with my wife at a retreat, and
Mhm.
she's been doing it for years. And she kept saying, "You'd like this. You should try this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the first time I
Yeah.
did it, I went to the whole week-long thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
really
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful way to just spend time with yourself, to live, like we were talking
Right.
about earlier today."
Oh.
But I think that one of the things that maybe we are kind of getting toward the end of time, but at the end of our time, but I wanted to give you an opportunity, first of all, to share anything else that you feel like you would like to, but also one of the reasons that I think one of the perspectives that you can bring that we can't is the perspective of your culture and the culture,
Mm-hmm.
the different
Mm-hmm.
cultures that, like we've had interviews about people talking about different cultures and different ways that people approach death, and being aware of that as a death worker, or
Right.
as somebody working, in
Mhm.
funeral services, or
Mhm.
as a doula or whatever. Um, just to be aware that everybody's culture is not the same. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's
Right.
always good for us to hear about. And you already shared some of the differences, and that it's like it's almost an everyday happening, or much more
Mhm.
often
Mhm.
happening because it's a village thing. And
Right.
so, are
Mhm.
there
Right.
any other aspects of the culture of Malawi that might be
Around
Yeah.
valuable?
death and dying.
Yes.
Yeah.
The understanding, if you think of the village, okay, I mean, Malawi is, I would say, 40% urban, 60% village. So there's
Mm,
still a lot that is happening at the rhythm of time and at the
mm,
rhythm of temperature. So one of
mm-hmm,
the things is, as death happens, the family begins to gather. Somebody is sick. Um, they have most likely gone to the hospital and come back from the hospital. The hospital has said there's no longer anything we can do. We don't have a formal hospice like you have here in the United States, but we
Mhm.
have kind of a local hospice. So the person is
mm-hmm,
kept as comfortable as possible, as pain free as possible. Possibly they've been given pain meds from the hospital. When they pass, there isn't always easy access to a mortuary. And
mm,
so for the village, it's how can we most expeditiously and honorably give our recently deceased a good going home.
mm,
And so they will begin to send a message to the village, usually with drums.
mm,
But there will also be people who will go notify the chief, notify the elders, and everybody will gather. And as
Mhm.
people gather, understanding that somebody has just been bereaved, as they come with what I call full hands. Somebody
mm,
will bring flour for making our staple carbohydrate. Somebody might bring a chicken. Somebody might bring a goat. Somebody will bring firewood, and they
mm,
will gather at the house of the deceased. The women will get together to prepare the body as best as they can. And given that the ark is going to be, so say they pass on at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so they're looking at 10 o'clock from one day, that by 12 the next day, they must be going to the graveyard, because that's about as much time as they can keep the body without becoming too decomposed, as it were.
Right.
And so they'll wash the body, and they'll get the clothes that they'll dress the body in, and they'll be singing. And as people come, there'll be the greetings of allowing the people to understand what happened, what was the illness, and and so then the next day they will then start now the funeral ritual. Church people will come. More often than not, the person belonged to a church, so the church is involved, and the church and the chiefs get together and map out the funeral rites. The prayers at the house, the prayers at the gravesite, and and at the gravesite, the young people, we call them the grandchildren, even though they might not even be that person's grandchildren, but the young people, they go to the gravesite and begin preparing the grave, which usually has already been pre-selected. Each family has their section in the graveyard. So that has been pre-selected, and they prepare the grave, and then the funeral takes place. From the house, there's the final viewing of the body, the prayers at the house, then they go to the grave site. Sometimes the church will come to the house, sometimes they'll bring their body to the church. It just depends on what they agree. And then they go for the actual interment. And they do the interment, they do the flowers, and then they go back to the house. When they go back to the house, we have a ceremony that's called sweeping. And it's
Cleaning out,
sweeping both in terms of physical, let's leave this place as we found it, but it's also sweeping in terms of the family coming together and saying, look, we've just lost somebody. How are we moving forward? Especially if that person was maybe the chief breadwinner, or if he was indeed a chief or the head of the family, that the family comes together and they discuss. And also it's a time to bring up issues that might have been happening in the family, and they discuss them and say, going forward, let's not carry this anymore. Our person has gone. Let's bury the things that need to be buried with this burial and start a new leaf. And then people disperse. So that's kind of the transition. Now, Malawi has 9 different ethnic groups, and each one will have its own variation on what I've just shared with you. But pretty much that's the way the things go. Family coming together and making sure that when they leave, they have buried whatever disputes and disagreements they were.
Right there is the best part right there, because we just heard a statistic the other day that in the United States, 60% of families quit talking to each other after a funeral.
Right.
After the death of a parent, right?
And the death of a parent, That's such a wonderful lesson for all of us to let's part of our grieving process when we lose something or somebody is to let's see what else we'd like to bury.
Exactly.
I have to say, last year for the Denver Film Festival, there was a movie from Zambia, and it's called On Becoming a Guinea Fowl. And it is the death of an elder, of an uncle, and they did you could see this in this movie.
Yes.
the whole process, and then finally literally sitting there and like talking about the beef that they've got with the dude that just died.
Yes.
And I don't particularly care for the ending, and yet I appreciated that people did come out and say, you know, this is actually what happened. And I was like, oh, like, oof. So good movie, good representation, but just we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we sign off?
I think what's important is just to understand that when, if you think of a stool that has 3 legs, bereavement is one of those legs going away. And that the person for a while has to find what that 3rd leg is going to be again. Death shifts us, as I said, foundation. So just to remember that death really shifts our foundation, and grieving is about trying to find our new foundation. But that's where the last quote, the quote that I sent to you, which I didn't able to find, but if you can, because
we will read that for you.
us to live in the moment.
That's right.
Really quickly, one young person that I spoke to about 20 years ago told me about his thesis, which he went and talked to people in hospice and asked them, out of your life, what would you do again? Or what do you regret not doing? None of them said, I regret not working anymore or having more cars. Most of them said, I regret not spending more time with my children. I regret not playing the trombone more. I regret not singing more or dancing more. Don't let that be your last words.
Exactly.
Sing, dance, go
play
for
the trombone,
a walk, have a nice meal. Do those things often, because
hug and
those
kiss each
are the
other.
things that people regret at the end of life.
So true, so important. Aloysia, do you want to read that quote, or would you like me to?
I'm writing it down for myself too, because I'm going to share it.
Okay, go for
it. Some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen, and others make it happen. This is by Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
So I got to remember this for myself.
Make it happen. That's what we've got. Yeah. Live
Make
your life.
That
live life.
phone call today, not tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah. Give that hug. Give that smile.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Masankho, is such a pleasure.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing
Thank you
you.
I hope to see you.
Yes. I look forward to seeing you both again.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever up in Denver, be sure to talk.
Well, we talked about this before.
Yes.
So.
Okay,
good.
I
think I will be coming to Denver this year, so I'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah. And I know you'll be back here. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Conversations about the end of life.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to Charles Heaston, the composer of the original music you are listening to now.
And of course, thanks to you, our audience, and all of our amazing guests. Please come back next week for another great episode. Share this with your friends, family, and community. We hope you will subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. Each guest's additional information will be found in the podcast notes. And of course, if you have a good end-of-life story to share, please reach out. We are always eager to hear from you.